The Buffalo Bills are your Super Bowl champions. Is this what we're going to hear in February, Sam?
So it's more like a question mark to me. Josh Allen, is entering, he's pushing 30 years old. And, that's around the time production starts to decrease just a little. And, these dual threats start to wind down, like you could see with like Cam Newton. And there's other examples I know.
So you're going to leave me in suspense until the end, and then you'll tell me what you think.
Maybe.
All right, so let's look at the Bills and see what we can expect from them this year. I think you started off really well there. I think a lot of it does come down to Josh Allen and whether he can get it done. What are your thoughts on how he's looked recently and what we can expect, from him this year?
Well, Josh Allen, he's been here with the Bills. He was drafted there, and he's been a top three quarterback like every season, I'd say. That might be a little up for debate.
At least for the last few years, I think he definitely has emerged.
Yeah. So he's very much carried the Bills to the playoffs like every year. They have some good pieces, but he's like the holy grail piece. And he is the main reason they're there. You could have a tight end room, but it doesn't matter very much. Tight ends aren't gonna save a whole team. So Josh Allen, he's there. He's there all the time in the regular season. Puts up consistent, amazing numbers. He just won the MVP 2 seasons ago. He's been great, but where's the postseason stats? He had that game against the Broncos, and controversial, but he threw 2 interceptions, I'm pretty sure. He had that crazy one that, honestly, in my opinion, I do like the Broncos a bit, but I don't know about that being an interception. We got Josh Allen. He's trying to carry this team, but he's not there for the playoffs. So there's basically nothing. So then you look to the run room, and you have James Cook. He's still pretty young, and he just led the league in rushing. So he's going into next season with higher expectations. And, he's still young, but I wouldn't even consider him a top 5 running back, in my opinion. And that's no shade to him. He's amazing, but there are so many good running backs right now. And then you look towards the wide receiver room, and, they just picked up DJ Moore from the Bears. So you have DJ Moore, and then maybe it'd be best if Bills fans just didn't hear this next part. You have Shakir, you have Keon Coleman, and then you have the other nobodies that are on this team. So the wide receiver room has definitely been holding back the Bills. Josh Allen basically has no one to throw to.
Yeah. I think that you've said a lot there.
Yeah.
I think, Josh Allen has been very consistent during the regular season. In the postseason, everyone elevates their play. There's no easy games. Every team you're playing, you're getting their best, and the defenses are just better. So I think that he has not done his best in that situation.
So, obviously, there's tight ends, and that has been a good thing for Allen with Knox and Kincaid. But recently, they've looked a little off, usually off for him.
I mean, neither one is a real big game breaker.
Yeah, but together, they're very solid. And then you have that defense. Defense wins championships. Don't ask Houston about that, though. Their defense is kind of rocky.
Yeah, I think I was going to say a little more about the offense first, because I know you had started on that. And then, we can look at the defense, too. So I think that, Josh Allen, I think you're right. He's one of the best in the league. I think James Cook, I think their running game has been dominant. And I think part of that is it was something they had to be successful at. They didn't have the playmakers that really let them play any differently. So they kind of had to play that way and then hope that opened up things for the wide receivers. But I think if we look at the last few years, there just hasn't been much the wide receivers have done for Josh Allen. And I think that was a large part of why he struggled last year. His sacks were up, his interceptions were up. He did improve his completion percentage, but I think that it was more challenging to be successful with the offense. So I think the guy you mentioned, DJ Moore, is a huge piece for them. I think if he can be the number one guy for Josh Allen,
he will be.
And be what he was just a couple years ago, the guy that makes 90 catches and 1,200 yards.
Yeah.
I think that really opens up the Bills. When you can slide each guy down a notch, when Khalil can be the second wide receiver, all of a sudden he's getting better chances. I don't know if you've got a third guy, if Joshua Palmer or if Coleman, or I think they had a guy in the 4th round. I don't know if one of those guys can emerge as the number 3 guy or not. But if one of those can, it's a lot easier to be the number 3 guy than the number 2. So DJ Moore gives each of them better opportunities too. So I think the offense has a chance to be more successful. I think one of the biggest question marks of whether this team can be successful is the defense. We haven't really seen them, be dominant like you need, at this level. So there's some changes, new defensive coach, new schemes. So do you think that we're going to see some changes, with the defense, or how you think the Bills D is going to hold out for us this year?
I think that it is entirely up to fate. I don't know very much about the Bills defense. They don't have any major pieces. Like, they ain't got like Micah Parsons or Myles Garrett or like Will Anderson Jr. Like, they ain't got nobody there that I know of that's like that important. So yeah, we could 1 week we see them get a shutout, and the next they let up like
They've got guys that can be solid, but you're right. There's no game changers that are gonna really just turn the whole tide of a game. So I think they really have to work well as a unit and maybe have a bend don't break kind of approach that you don't have to keep your opponent to 10 points, but if you can limit them to 21, you've got the offense that can score more.
So another big thing was they got rid of their head coach. And it's interesting to me because he wasn't too bad in my opinion. I'm not a Bills fan, so I don't look into him very much. But they have that Joe Brady guy who was the offensive coach or something, like the assistant head coach, and now he's moving up to head coach.
Yeah. You don't usually fire a head coach when he's taken a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 17 years and all of a sudden turns it around to where they have made it for 7 straight seasons.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting approach by the owner, and his comments on that situation were interesting as well. I can kind of see where he's coming from, and I think it's a perspective that you gain the longer that you're around the game in the league.
Yeah.
When you're young, and you make it to the highest stage, you feel like time is on your side, and every year you're going to have a chance to get back there. But the truth is that's not always the case. Dan Marino made it in his 2nd year and then never made it back to the Super Bowl. Like, even if you're a great guy, the best in the league doesn't mean you're going to get that same chance. And, from what the owner said, he was looking at Josh Allen and just thinking, I've got one of the best quarterbacks right now, and his window's closing, and we haven't gotten it done. And if I'm going to make a change, I've got to make the change now. And so that they really went out, took a risk in getting rid of a coach that was that successful, and I guess we will see if that pays off or not. So if you had to make a prediction right now, do you think Bills Super Bowl champion? You think Bills AFC champion, playoff team, non-playoff team? Where do you think the Bills are going to fall this year?
I'd say they either get a wild card or just miss. So, what is your record prediction? Because I'm gonna say 10-7. That's where I'm sitting at right now, currently.
I would say more 12-5. I mean, you have a quarterback that's going to win you games.
It'd be better if we were, have the schedule pulled up right in front of us, then we could see the games.
Then we could break it down more and go more in depth. But I think that they're going to be one of the best teams in the AFC. I think it's an interesting time right now because we've had the Ravens, we've had the Chiefs,
Bengals.
We've had the Bengals to a degree the last few years, and maybe they're not going to be at that level this year, but at the same time, you're going to have, the the chance for the Patriots, if they show up like they did last year, the Broncos, you're going to have the Chargers, you're going to have the Jaguars, these teams that are coming up with younger guys, all of a sudden, they're going to be the ones that you're fighting with. So for the Bills, it doesn't get any easier, and this might be their last best chance.
Yeah. Like last season, they could have had it, but they messed it up. So, yeah, I feel like we've spoken our mind about the situation. And if you have any thoughts, if you want to say your record prediction, or you want to talk about if DJ Moore could save them, this is Josh Allen's last good year, just comment it.
Yeah, so my idea is DJ Moore, 10 touchdowns. I think
maybe 11.
Buffalo Bills, 10 plus. We'll say that. I think he gets double digits.
20 plus.
I'm not going that far on a wide receiver. We don't have Randy Moss out there anymore.
Madden.
But DJ Moore, and then the Bills, I'll say 12 plus wins, AFC Championship. That's what I'll say for the Bills this year.
All right. So, yeah, that's just going to do it for tonight. This is just a smaller kind of thing. We just wanted to get our mind out. And I feel like we succeeded in that. So, yeah, that'll do it. So, see you when we get our next video out.
Yeah. Comment, like, subscribe. Tell us what you think the Bills are going to do this year. And then we'll come back with our looks at what are the other contenders. All right.